Evaluating the effectiveness of mass incarceration policy. Introduction. Mass incarceration is a common policy that characterizes the nature of the American criminal justice system. The malpractice began in the year 1970, a trend that would result in an increasing prison population. This policy has led to the growth of inmates in the U.S. by more than 500% within the past 3 decades. This discussion seeks to evaluate this program and present evidence-based approaches to test its relevance, analyze existing gaps, and identify opportunities for change. Discussion. The main objectives have been to reduce drug abuse in the country, support efforts intended to tackle the challenge of crime, and improve law and order. The primary goal has been to support the establishment of successful communities without crime or illicit drugs. Some of the strategies the government has put in place to pursue this policy include targeting individuals engaging in criminal activities, building more incarceration centers, and involvement of policing departments. The key activities associated with it include identifying, arresting, trying, and incarcerating more culprits following the outlined objectives. Experts and analysts in the field of criminology have presented numerous arguments against the nature of mass incarceration. Specifically, scholars have found the program inappropriate and incapable of maximizing accountability. The policy was ineffective since the intended goals of reducing illicit drugs and crime in the country are yet to be realized. Advocacy groups and human rights activists have identified and challenged mass incarceration since it continues to trigger cases of impunity, racism, and abuse. A detailed evaluation of this policy is, therefore, recommendable to test the views and determine if and how the government can transform it for the better. Such an initiative can influence a paradigm shift, thereby meeting the demands of more American citizens. The suggested evaluation is intended to examine the practicability, effectiveness, and gaps associated with the mass incarceration policy. The success of the activity will be determined by its ability to provide sufficient responses to these key questions. Are there problems in this policy that support the need for its evaluation? Does mass incarceration bring about the intended gains in the wider American society? What is the perception of individuals with diverse backgrounds regarding this policy initiative? Is the policy cost-effective, sustainable, and capable of meeting the demands of the American population? Professionals and researchers involved in the evaluation of public policies can use different problem-solving models. Within the U.S. criminal justice system, the scanning, analysis, response, and assessment (SARA) model has remained a common strategy for addressing emerging issues. During the scanning stage, the participants will examine and describe the existing problems. The analysis phase allows the individuals to monitor the contributing factors associated with the outlined issues. The response stage entails the development and implementation of appropriate responses to the outlined problems. The assessment phase allows and guides the involved professionals to measure the possible impacts of the initiatives on the outlined problem. Specialists in the criminal justice system can utilize various tactics to appraise the effectiveness of various policies. The best method for the identified program is that of outcome evaluation. This approach examines how the specific program affects members of the target population and the subsequent results. The involved participants need to focus on the experiences of those who have been incarcerated, the views of different community members, and the opinions of professionals in the criminal justice system. The effort will present a clear image of the policy and the outcomes associated with it. To implement this evaluation successfully, participants need to develop a set of questions targeting the affected stakeholders. This approach will focus on the best responses concerning the policy and the recorded issues. The use of open-ended questionnaires targeting key policymakers, experts, and community members will form the data collection method. A qualitative analysis approach is recommended to get key inferences and make distinctive conclusions. The emerging information will offer adequate insights into the outcome of the specific policy. The respondents will be informed about the key ethical concerns that determine the success of any program. For example, evaluators need to seek informed consent, avoid sharing personal information, and positively apply the acquired information. The ultimate aim is to promote policy change, thereby helping the country realize its goals in criminal justice. Conclusion. The best strategy for organizing and analyzing the collected information needs to consider all key elements of qualitative research. The first phase is to have a proper plan to increase consistency and group the collected data based on the specific project. The second stage is to organize the content into various categories or themes, such as groups of different respondents. The third phase is to analyze the data or information gained from the presented evaluation questions. Analysts can identify and describe key themes or words and interpret them accordingly. The final stage would be to interpret the presented results professionally. The created file system in the second phase will guide the entire process and support the presentation of appropriate findings and action plans.